The last time I did one of these videos was about a year ago, so I thought I'd just go and do it again for 2019 with different phones. As you guys know, I love used tech. I like buying and selling used tech. I like the fact that it reuses things that might not have been reused before and might have been just put into landfill, and also it saves you an awful lot of money and is useful for people like me because I don't have a lot of money. Here is my list of the best phones in slightly different price categories that you can buy used. I use eBay for everything, so all of my prices are UK eBay prices. They might be slightly different in your region or with different retailers, and obviously they all come in different kind of configurations, so you know, different storage, RAM configurations, colors, and then also the quality and condition of the item that you buy. So I'm just going to go off my basic pricing that I use for pretty much every single video. So if you need reference, all of my videos basically link to this pricing. Firstly, I want to start with something pretty obvious, the iPhone 7. It's a fantastic smartphone. It's the first iPhone with an IP67 rating, so it's going to be fairly reliable. It doesn't have the physical fingerprint reader, it actually has a haptic reader. Has decent specs, decent screen, decent camera. It's fairly small, or you can jump up to the 7 Plus and get a bigger model. It's just a nice all-around iPhone. I think it's probably the earliest iPhone that I'd now go to. Of course, it does omit the headphone port, and if that's really important to you and you still want an iPhone, then you'd have to go with the 6S. But I think the iPhone 7 is actually a better buy than the iPhone 6S at the moment. You can find these for around £200 on eBay used, and you know, if you find something decent on Facebook Marketplace, you can get it even cheaper. Next up is the Galaxy S9, which is a fantastic smartphone. The S9 and the S9 Plus, of course, they are much less iterative than the S8 was over the S7, not in terms of design, of course, they were completely different, but in terms of internal specifications. So you've got the Snapdragon 845 or the Exynos version of that. You get a nice amount of RAM, you get a great camera. The camera is still fantastic on that thing. Battery life's pretty good as well. You get lots of updates because it's still relatively within Samsung's update system. It's only 1 generation old as of the making of this video. The colors are great, you still get a headphone port, the speakers are pretty good, and a bonus for me is that you actually get a physical rear capacitive fingerprint scanner, which is what I prefer over under display ones. Of course, you still get that gorgeous design and microSD expansion and IP68 water and dust resistance, so it's a fantastic value smartphone for around £200 to £300, depending on, again, the condition and also whether you go with the standard or the plus. The Galaxy Note 9 is a little bit less great value in my opinion, but still coming in at £400 to £450. You get one of the best screens ever put into a smartphone. You still get that rear capacitive fingerprint reader, you get a great camera, great battery life, you get the S Pen, which is important to a lot of people, nice amounts of RAM, the IP rating, basically everything the S9 has but in the Note. So if you want a Note, I would recommend going with the Note 9. I actually recommend that over the Note 10, and I made a couple of videos and posts on that Android Authority about that. But as a general consensus, I recommend the S9 a little bit over the Note, just due to the fact that it's a lot cheaper. Next up is the Mate 20 Pro and the Mate 20X. Now these can be had for £400 and £500 respectively, and I think they're fantastic smartphones. Not a lot of people like EMUI, and I don't really get why, because I think it's a fantastic interface. But with that, you get 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, up to 256 gigabytes of storage. You get that nano expansion. Yeah, it's some form of expansion. It's not quite as good as microSD. You do get a headphone port on the Mate 20X, you get that massive screen, and if you swap over to the Pro, you get a high resolution screen and that curved design, kind of curved edges, more Samsung-esque design. The cameras are absolutely phenomenal. The battery life is levels above what the competition have been able to do, and of course you get the Huawei phone, so I mean, in my opinion, that's pretty cool. Next up, two phones that could never have missed out on this list, the OnePlus 6 and OnePlus 6T. Now I did Redux videos of these on Android Authority, and I've also done several videos of these, including one recently on this channel. What I really like about these phones is they run Oxygen OS, and they're going to get Android 10, probably Android 11 as well, because OnePlus are really good at updates. They're super speedy, even though they're 1 to 1.5 generations old at this point. Battery life is pretty good, especially if you go for the T model. You still get a headphone port on the regular 6. Weatherproofing isn't official, but it's pretty much there. Decent cameras, arguably the best software in the game, and can be found anywhere from £250 to £400, depending on your configuration again. You get a minimum of 6 gigabytes of RAM, which I think is fantastic, and you can go up to 8. Next up are two controversial phones. They're not really the same, but yeah, they're kind of related. and I've covered them in detail on this channel before. That's going to be the LG V30 and the Pixel 2 XL. Now I know the displays are a little bit controversial, the speed, the reliability, it's not amazing, but I really like the Pixel 2 XL. I think it's a fantastic phone. I've actually still got one. The speakers are great on that thing. I think the design is fantastic, and I really like the software because it's going to get updates for at least another year. The LG V30 is not really as good in the software department, but it has that ultra wide camera, in my opinion a much nicer design, has that fantastic 32-bit quad hi-fi DAC, and can be found for a lower amount of money because it's an LG. Those come in at around £200. They're not especially fast, but they've got great cameras, and you know, if you're on a tight budget, I think they offer a lot compared to the competition. The Xiaomi Mi 9 is an odd one because it's really not that old. It's Snapdragon 855, it's got 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM. I just think it's a really underappreciated phone. The specs are great, the hardware is fantastic, the cameras are great, the screen's good. All of that stuff comes in at £350, and I think that's a brilliant value for something that's competing with the OnePlus 7. And another OnePlus competitor, it had to be the Xiaomi Poco phone, didn't it? These can be found for between £200 and £250. You get Snapdragon 845, 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, lots of storage, micro SD expansion, decent cameras, good fingerprint reader, meh screen, great battery life. You know, you still get the headphone port, which is something that a lot of people still value. So those are my picks, and I know a lot of you are probably going to be concerned at my use of EMUI and MIUI in this kind of roundup, but I think that they're two perfectly good pieces of software, and I would happily use it on the daily basis, and I guess these are my recommendations as someone who would use them, so it's difficult to please everyone. I'll leave links to every single phone that I can find, or at least an alternative that I can find on Amazon, because that's what I use for links, in the video description. Hopefully you can find what you need. I personally, if I had to pick out of any of those phones, probably go with the S9 Plus, to be honest, because it just offers that cohesive design. The fact that it's got that great design, great battery life, great cameras, great screen, it's just a lot there, and it's not a lot of money. Also, just wanted to add this in, I don't care that China are spying on me. Like, I don't care about that at all. You know, Google's been spying on me, and the US government, in my opinion, is just as destructive as the Chinese government, so I don't really care. And anyone who thinks we're not being surveyed all the time is a bit of a moron anyway. Also, do you have your recommendations for any good used phones? I'd really like to hear about those in the comment section, because there are a lot of phones that I haven't checked out, and I only put the ones in this list that I have used personally. I never talk about phones on these lists that I haven't used, because that would be poor. Although granted, I haven't done a review of the S9 Plus. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. And also check out my social media and all the other links that I talked about in this video in the video description. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons. You guys have been awesome. If you want to become a patron, please do check out that link in the video description as well. So I appreciate all you people out there. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.